religion, your Judeo-Christian religion, and your God has been exactly what has been manifested in history. It has been murder and hatred and fierce dogmatism, internecine warfare, cruelty, rejection of people, anti-sexuality, degradation of women, debasement of the intellect. You are exactly what you have been represented to be for years. And you can't beg off and say, oh, well, those people really weren't Christians, because now, 2,000 years after the fact, we're going to define it in a different way. How dare you? Organized religion and traditional religion is dead. Not alone their God is dead, but everything else is a rotting corpse. It's this simply because it is not relevant to what is going on. I find that the progressives and the liberals do one single thing. They coat the pill differently so that it can be accepted. But when you have it and you're hooked again, there it is, and it's just as fundamental as those weird old tales of the Old Testament, and it is just as irrelevant. Instead of throwing the whole thing out and starting anew with human values and human goods, all of the religionists are tied psychologically, emotionally, traditionally, historically to these ideas that are no longer valid to the human community.
Let's talk about it. Oh, she hit all the points. Because if you really critically think about this religion, this is a religion based on the cultures of 2,000 years ago plus 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, based on the culture of those people of that day. Hence, since our morality today is greater than the morality was back then, all of this book should be thrown away. But people are emotionally tied to it. They are psychologically tied to it, so that they have to try to validate this book to make it a living book that continues to prosper in our lives today, when we see that all this religion has actually done is to enforce and support slavery, enforce and support the degradation of women. All it has done is split families, separate people, cause genocides, and all of this in the name of a God that is supposed to be good. This woman literally broke down the fact that if man was to try and look at God today and conceptualize God today, that the overwhelming majority of things in these unscientific stories, non-historical stories, that man was writing today based on today's morality, that the overwhelming majority of things of genocide and taking advantage of women and infanticides, those things would not be written in a book that are attributed to a God that people supposedly believe in. We would cancel those things out. We would say that a God today would say no man should own another man, that women are equal to men, that human sacrifice and animal sacrifice is not needed in order for people to find salvation, but it would be exactly the opposite, that we would care for one another. Now, your Bible does say to love your neighbor as you love yourself, but at the same time, it says that you can have someone as a slave. At the same time, it says that women have a bride price and can be sold off by their fathers, that she's property. At the same time, it says that animals should be sacrificed, or even the human sacrifice of this Jesus character, or that you should be willing to die for the sake of this belief and allow those to abuse you and treat you unkindly and just turn the other cheek, but not defend yourself. It tells you that you shouldn't worry about what's going to happen to you tomorrow, but that you should just give up everything and follow this cult instead of you critically thinking for yourself. We wouldn't write anything like that today. We have higher moral standards than the people who wrote this book. So the entire book needs to be thrown away, garbaged. And then a new humanity, a new mindset, one that is devoid of all these different entrapments of man, of racism and nationalism and genderism, would not be part of this book. those things will be frowned upon, outlawed. So we really, really should consider getting rid of this book and starting new and starting fresh with our higher levels of morality than the God of your book. You have a great day, and remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non negotiable. The journey, good vibration.